If your PC keeps crashing or freezing at the worst moments, you do not fix it by guessing. You fix it by walking through a clear checklist from fast, simple checks to deeper tests until the problem shows its face. That is what this crash guide is for. First, rule out heat. Open a monitoring tool and watch CPU and GPU temperatures while you game or run your heavy app. If a crash happens right after tongs spike into unsafe ranges, you have a cooling problem, not a mysterious bug. Clean dust from filters and heat sinks. Make sure front and bottom fans pull air in and rear and top fans push air out. And check that your CPU cooler is mounted firmly with decent thermal paste. If crashes stop after temperatures drop, you already found your culprit. Next, check power. Sudden black screens, instant reboots under load, or the whole PC clicking off like someone pulled the plug screen PSU trouble. Look at your power supply brand and wattage. If it is a no-name gaming unit with a ridiculous watt number on a cheap sticker, it is a prime suspect. Loose PCIe power cables, sketchy adapters, and overloaded power strips can do the same. If you can, test with a known good PSU or at least plug directly into a solid wall outlet or UPS. Then remove all overclocks and boost modes. Run the system at sane, near-stock settings. That includes CPU overclocks, GPU overclocks, extreme RAM profiles, and auto-tuner modes from motherboard software. Many random crashes are just unstable overclocks that only show up after an hour in a real game, not in a 5-minute benchmark. Enable only the official XMP or DOCP profile for your RAM if it is rated for it, and leave the rest alone while you test. Now test your RAM health. Faulty memory can cause blue screens, corrupted saves, and apps closing with no warning. Run a proper memory test for several passes. If you see errors, pull sticks and test them one at a time in different slots. A good stick that fails in one slot but passes in another points to a motherboard problem. A stick that fails everywhere is bad memory. Do not ignore even a small number of errors. Unstable RAM never gets better on its own. After that, stress test CPU and GPU separately. Run a CPU-only stress test and watch temperatures, clocks, and stability. Then run a GPU-focused benchmark or heavy game. If you crash only under GPU load, suspect the card, PSU, or PCIe power. If you crash only in CPU tests, look again at cooling, VRM quality, and any sneaky auto overclocks. If both tests pass alone, but the system dies when you run a heavy game that loads CPU and GPU together, power delivery or overall thermals are being pushed too far. Storage is next. A tired or failing drive can cause hangs and crashes when the system hits broken sectors. Check drive health with smart data, especially on old HDDs and budget SSDs. Listen for clicking or grinding from spinning drives. Run a file system check and see if Windows reports corruption. If your crash always happens when loading the same game, project, or zone, that drive or folder is suspicious. Moving the game to a healthy SSD is an easy test. Once hardware looks mostly sane, clean up drivers and conflicts. Do a clean install of your GPU driver using the official tool or the vendor's clean install option. Avoid stacking multiple overlays, recorders, and optimizer apps on top of each other. Turn off extra RGB, capture, and monitoring tools and leave only the essentials while you test. A single buggy overlay or old driver can crash a system that is otherwise fine. Do not forget basic software health. Make sure Windows is reasonably up to date, especially for major stability fixes, but avoid installing every random beta driver you find on forums. Scan for malware, remove shady registry cleaners, and uninstall junk that hooks into the system at startup. A clean, boring software stack is easier to keep stable than one full of experiments. Event Viewer is your detective notebook. You do not need to understand every code. You just look for patterns. After a crash or reboot, open it and check around the time of failure. If you always see the same disk error, driver failure, or power warning, you know where to dig next. Ignore random one-off entries and focus on errors that repeat. Then physically inspect the build. Make sure RAM sticks are fully seated, GPUs are locked into their slots, and all power cables are clicked in. Check for bent pins, burnt smells, or discoloration near VRMs and connectors. Lightly wiggle the display cable and power cable on a safe screen to see if a bad connection causes flickers or dropouts. Sometimes the randomness is just a loose part. By the time you walk this checklist, most truly random crashes are no longer random. You will usually catch heat, power, RAM, storage, driver, or software issues long before you need to blame the CPU or motherboard. And if you ever do have to replace a core part, at least you will know you made that call after real testing, not panic. If this gave you a calm plan to tame an unstable rig, follow and subscribe for more grounded PC repair and tuning guides.